You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio, man. We are here once again, and today we have a true honor talking to NASCAR legend Kyle Petty in his new book, Swerve or Die. You should know him. I mean, you should really, really know him. NASCAR legend himself. I just want to say, first and foremost, true honor talking to you, Kyle. How you doing, man?
I am doing great, man. Thank you for having me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Man, just jump right in this book. I mean, you're no stranger to NASCAR. You and your family are just a big piece of this amazing sport. So tell us all about this book, man.
Yeah, really, it's funny. My grandfather started racing in 1949, and my dad was there. My dad was 12 or 13 years old, and then my dad started driving in 58. I came along in 79, and my son came along in 98, Adam. And, you just grow up in something and you don't even know you're learning it. You don't even know you're taking it in. When you're 6, you're taking it in when you're 10, you're taking it in when you're 14. And one day you look back and it's like, oh my gosh, I remember that. I remember when that happened. I was there. And I've had all these stories, and we were talking. People are always saying, man, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. So I started about the time the pandemic started. I started writing some of this stuff down because I'm married. I'm newly married 6 years ago to Morgan, and we have 3 kids: a little boy named Overton, a little boy named Cotton, and a little boy named Devant. And I just started writing stuff down so that they would have a history and they would know who I was and what life was like before they came along. And it was more personal. And then my wife said, man, you need to put this down. And I previous marriage, I had my oldest son, Adam, was killed in a racing accident. So that became a part of the story, the weave in and out. So it's just generational. It's about my granddad. It's about my dad. It's about me. It's about Adam. It's about life. It's about what you go through. The good times, the bad times, the funny times, the sad times, that kind of thing. And it was a lot of fun. It was very therapeutic to write about Adam, but it was hard.
And like we said moments ago, the importance of your family and NASCAR. I mean, talk a little bit about Richard Petty and Lee Petty. Richard Petty did amazing things.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, man. And listen, my grandfather came along. Crazy story. My grandfather came along in 1949, and most guys that drove race cars in the late 40s, early 50s, all the way through to the mid or late 50s, had other jobs. They were farmers, or they were roofers, or they were loggers, whatever it was, because it was rural South. They had other jobs. They just drove whenever a race would come up. My grandfather decided after he run those first couple of races, he was going to be a race car driver. He was 35, 36 years old. He quit every job he had just to focus on nothing but racing. And then the first 10 years of the sport, he won 50 races and 3 championships. And then my dad started, and my granddad was in a really bad accident at Daytona in 61 that ended his career. But my dad started. My dad went on to win 200 races and 7 championships. And I always get asked this question, was there pressure being the son of Richard Petty and driving a race car? And I really honestly answered no, that there wasn't any pressure. Because as I looked around the garage area, there was nobody else in the garage area, nobody else in racing that had won 200 races and 7 championships. And I wasn't the only one that didn't come close to what he had done. There were other people out there that had struggled to do what he had done. So I think when I look at it, it was a huge honor to grow up with the best and to gauge yourself against the best and to be able to be a part of the family. So, my dad still goes to the racetrack. He's 85 years old, and every week there's a race. He still goes to a racetrack somewhere because that's what he's done since he was 12 or 13 years old. And that just, I don't see that changing. And he's a part of the sport as much as the sport is a part of him. And I guess that's what it takes to be Richard Petty and to be a great race car driver.
And also, when we mentioned Lee Petty and his legendary status and being one of the pioneers of NASCAR, he's one of the first superstars. What's some of the things you learned from him as well?
You know what? I think the main thing you learned from my granddad was his work ethic. He came out of the Depression. And that was a tough time, obviously. But I think they came out of the Depression and not knowing where the next meal would come from, not knowing where the next dollar would come from. They were from the rural South. So they worked hard. And they never, he had this, my dad won a race early on in his career. My grandfather protested and said my dad didn't win. And they took the win away from my dad and they gave it to my granddad. And my granddad's answer was, I'm not going to give you anything, that you've got to earn it. You got to go out and earn that win. And I don't want your first win to be given to you. I want you to earn it. And he said, always remember, if somebody gives you something, they give it to you because they don't want it and because it's not worth anything. So don't ever take something that somebody gives you. Go out and earn something. And that's kind of the way my granddad was. He was a little bit of a hard head, but he worked hard for everything he got. And I think that's the biggest lesson that we all learned from him, was just perseverance. Just keep digging. When things get hard, doesn't make any difference. There's light on the other side of this tunnel. You just got to keep going. And I think that's the way my dad grew up. My uncle grew up, Maurice. I grew up. We all grew up. Just continuing to push forward and to continuing to try to be the best.
Once again, talking to a true legend, NASCAR legend, Kyle Petty, in his new book, Swerve or Die. Man, it's a true honor talking to you, man. My granddad's a big fan of NASCAR, so I'm going to send this to him as soon as this is over, man. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much, man. Tell your grandfather said hello.